Hi, everyone. This is Kate Kress from St. James, and I'm coming to you through our Spirit School platform. And we wanted to share with you tonight some insights from some of the amazing volunteers who've started volunteering at St. James in the midst of the pandemic, especially as some of our older volunteers needed to stay home for safety. And so tonight I'm very excited to introduce them to you so they can tell you about some of their experiences these days. Yeah. Leah is a volunteer on Friday nights at our grab and go dinners at St. James. So say hello to everyone, Leah.
Hi, everyone.
And you may have seen her on the website. She's sort of standing beneficently over hundreds of bags of dinner. And also say hello to Justin Vega. Justin?
Hello.
Yeah, it's great to have Justin here. Don't get too attached. He's actually been an intensely involved and important volunteer, moving on to the next stage right now. But I wanted him to be with you tonight because he has a wonderful perspective for us that's really important. And say also hello to Margaret Ecker. You and I have had the pleasure of talking with Margaret before, but she's here again tonight because she's so much a part of the evolution right now of what's happening at St. James. Margaret, say hello to everyone.
Hey.
Okay, great. So I want to just get started by asking you, Leah, tell me about what you do when you're not with us on Friday evenings at St. James.
Well, I'm a graphic designer and photographer at a stationery company in Culver City. That's my day job.
Mm-hmm.
And then I live in Koreatown, so close to St. James. And I actually found out about St. James by doing ballet at the Y, where I met Tony, who is one of the other volunteers at the Friday Night Soup Kitchen.
Doing ballet at the Y.
Yeah.
Tony, and that's how, oh my gosh, I didn't know that story. She's talking about Tony Kim, who is just a wonderful guy. And was he doing ballet too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. I love it. And what about you, Justin? What's your day job and how did you hear about St. James? Uh-oh.
Sorry, I was on mute. Normally, I'm a mechanical engineer. I work in biotech, but I moved out here, relocated for my job. Unfortunately, that fell through after coronavirus. And I was actually working on a nonprofit called Bags into Beds with my roommate. And the nonprofit, we deal with plastic films where we create bags out of that can be used as beds. So we sew the plastic film into a fabric, and then we're able to deliver those to shelters for our unhoused neighbors. And I love like the engineering aspect of creating a product, but I definitely did not know much about the homeless issue in the Los Angeles area until I got here. So I was looking on LA Works to try to get involved in the community, and I found out about St. James. And it was actually completely booked when I signed up. So I just tried anyway. And then Margaret reached out, and yeah, it was a great fit.
And what is LA Works?
LA Works is a website where you can find various volunteering opportunities. So yeah, it's a really great opportunity for anyone that just wants to jump in.
Mm. And jumping in is really what you all did. Just to take everyone back for a minute. Before the pandemic, and Margaret, you know how true this is, we had so many volunteers from the church who are older, and when the pandemic hit, we were very worried about safety, and so we made a kind of a rule that anybody 65 and older should be staying home and staying safe, right?
That question is to me?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. It was heartbreaking for everybody. It had been, the soup kitchen, as I'm sure the audience knows, it's been around for like 20 years, and many of the volunteers have been. And so that break in their usual source of sustenance for the soul and the spirit and giving back was all suddenly over, but so was our supply of people to make it happen.
Exactly. And that's why, amazingly, through LA Works and through the ballet class at the Y, we were able to get, and lots of other, I think our volunteers have had all sorts of different routes to this work. We were able to get a whole new community of volunteers, of people who were a little bit safer in the midst of the virus. And so, Leah, I remember the very first night that you started, and I think it was the very first night that we were making grab and go dinners, right? Can you remember that night and what it was like?
Yeah. So, I didn't really know what to expect. I just sort of reached out to Tony to see if he needed help because I was at home. I had been sent home from my job, and I knew that all over LA, people were kind of thrown into different situations. And there was, that was back when people were like rushing all the grocery stores to buy up all the food. And so there was a lot of people experiencing food shortages. And I just felt like, I want to pitch in where I can. And so we just showed up and we were making sandwiches and bagging up meals for people to take. So I didn't know what to expect, but I'm glad I showed up.
I know. And just for people who don't know, I mean, when I say a grab and go bag, I mean, it sounds like a sandwich and chips, but describe what's in that bag.
So we always have soup. We have like a plastic container of soup, and then we have like a takeout container that usually has some kind of pasta dish or rice dish, like a main dish that has a carb and a protein and vegetables in it. And then we always have sandwiches. We give them a half of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and a half of a tuna salad sandwich, so people can trade if they don't like one or the other, or some people like both and it works out. And then we usually have a piece of fruit, and sometimes, and we usually have a pastry from Cake House.
Cake House, our friends in Koreatown. That's right. If you live in Koreatown, you know about Cake House, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They're so generous. And like you said, a piece of fruit. And then is there a drink as well? I mean, milk?
Oh, we do. We also give out orange juice and water. Yeah. And then some, it varies. Sometimes there's extra things around that we roll into it, and it's a special day or something, like cookies or something. But
so it's a bag full of a lot of really good food, isn't it?
Yeah. And sometimes we're able to include a mask, other, supplies like that.
Right. And you have masks on hand as well, right?
We do.
Yeah. So, so that's just a sort of a basic picture of what Friday nights are like, right? And then what are Saturday mornings like, Justin? It's a different scene.
Yes, people are definitely trying to get freshened up from the week. So they go there mainly for the shower, and then having a nice pair of fresh pants or a nice shirt that's just like fresh out the wash is all the better after the shower. So a lot of people hanging out. We put out a lot of chairs so people just have a safe space to relax. They don't feel like they're in the way. They're just hanging out with all the volunteers. And I really enjoyed it to begin with because I was serving my community. But then as I made friends, it just became more of an attraction for me to go back week after week, because I don't really have the opportunity to meet anyone in this city that I just recently moved to. I've only been here for 1 year. I don't know if I mentioned that to you. So coronavirus hit like right at the beginning of that, and going to this was a great way to have some socially distanced interaction with people. And I'm able to, I do like fashion and making people look nice or helping people look nice. So that it's always a great feeling when I can give someone something that they like the style and they feel good how they look, and it's all for free through the donations. So
right. So that
don't have to worry about the price.
What you're clarifying is that there's this whole clothing ministry that's really started, that's grown on Saturday mornings. So there's showers. There's a big van that pulls in and people are able to take showers. there's this clothing shop that you founded, I believe, and then there's also food,
the J
right?
Shed.
The J, it's
we
called
call
the
it the
J
J Shed.
Shed, and you might think that the J was for Jesus, but it's actually for Justin. But I think it's for Jesus and Justin, you know.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, the J Shed. Margaret, do you want to fill Justin in on what happened after he left on Saturday with a satisfied customer?
Yes, right. Justin had to leave because he's getting ready to do a lot of other things with his life. So he had to leave a little bit early. And unfortunately for you, Justin, right after you left, an old timer guy came back whose name is Jason. And Jason, we haven't seen Jason in months. And he came back and he was looking fabulous. And he said, the reason I'm here is to say thank you. The reason I haven't been here is that I've gotten housed and I've got a job. And the reason I got the job is because you all dressed me and you told me how to dress for success, and it worked because I'm a successful man.
That's like
It's
top of the
so
line right there. Yeah,
right?
best case scenario. That's awesome.
And he said, you might not recognize me because I put on a little weight because I'm so happy.
Eating good, perfect.
Yep.
I love it. I love it. So you love fashion, and so that's how this clothing ministry got started. And I think, Justin, something that you're saying that's really, it sounds so important, is that you were starved for connection with other humans.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And
Absolutely.
our guests who come, and Leah, there you were in Culver City, but you were stuck at home, so you were probably sort of starved for human connection too.
Definitely, yes.
And so what's beautiful to me about this is everybody who gets together on Fridays and who gets together on Saturdays, whether they're a guest or a volunteer, they're there in many ways for the same thing, for human connection, right?
I think that's true, yeah.
And I don't know, when I hear to me that's what it's all about, because I mean, Margaret, you and I talk a lot about relationship being the sort of the cornerstone of what this is all about.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things I think Justin knows what I'm about. I mean, knows that I know this about him, but I hope he's not embarrassed that I say that. He has really stood out as somebody who's so easy making connection with our guests as well as with our fellow volunteers. So people now, like every once in a while, Justin couldn't be there, and they'll say, and like Tony will come in there, like, "Where's Justin? Where's Justin?" Yeah. Or Big Mary will be in there, and Big Mary will be like, "Hey, where's the shed guy?"
Shed guy, I like that too.
I'm just saying, it's, you know, like if it's a good deal of work and it's occupying of one's attention for the 3 or 4 hours that we're there, but when you step back from it and contemplate and meditate on what's going on there, it's so darn rich. Yeah,
it really is. And there's such a wonderful atmosphere on Friday evenings too. This kind of a it's like a showtime atmosphere, right? Leah?
Yeah, there's definitely like a hustle up and get ready for the first couple hours. Like when we're bagging everything, it's kind of like a good little bit of adrenaline to just get it all ready, and then we put it all out there and we have kind of a rush and we get everyone their food, and then it slows down, and that's when you can kind of like take time and connect with people a little more. And we just sit out there by the turtles and chit chat with whoever wants to talk. It's really nice.
Yeah. Did you ever get a chance to visit the Friday night? You probably never saw the Friday nights.
No, I've never seen the sit down dinner. I hope to one day.
It was a scene, and will be again. I mean, it was the whole parish hall where you make the sandwiches was just filled with tables, and there were musicians from the children from the school playing classical music, and I mean, it was just, and it was very relational, wouldn't you say, Margaret?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I love that it still is, even when we have to narrow what happens, the relationships are still there. I know that sometimes if there's a particular guest of ours that you're worried about, Margaret, you'll send word to John or somebody else on Friday night, keep an eye out,
Exactly.
so there's all of that going on. So what is it about this work that Leah and Justin that kind of keeps you coming back week after week? Leah, how about you first?
Well, just like Justin, I needed the opportunity to connect with people because I work from home all week long, and it's difficult to get out and see people. And I felt like this was a safe and necessary thing to do, but it's also a really important social outlet for me. And I just feel like being a part of the community is really important right now because there's so much going on in the world, and I just, for me, it's just very fulfilling to know that like I'm doing something to actually get to know my neighbors better and to know my city better, and to try and contribute what resources I have to making something better, hopefully.
Do you feel like you've learned more about the homelessness crisis in Los Angeles through this?
Yeah, definitely. I was just sort of aware from walking around that obviously there's a lot of homelessness here, but I hadn't had the chance to really talk to people and hear about their day-to-day lives. And that's something that I've definitely had the opportunity to do. And so I understand a little bit more like what a person's day or week is like if they truly don't have a place to sleep, or if they're, worried about getting moved along from their encampment or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So just the sort of hour by hour life, right?
Yeah.
And what about you, Justin? What have you sort of learned about people experiencing homelessness through this work?
Just the determination of a lot of these people is really astounding. They definitely go through a lot, as Leah was saying. In the day-to-day, you learn a lot about just things we wouldn't even think about, like just trying to use the bathroom, which is something we take for granted. So just having access to those facilities and understanding what they go through and their determinism. And I think it was really inspiring for someone who's been out of a job, and I worry about my life. It really puts a lot of things into perspective. And on top of that, they're all ready to make jokes. They're all ready to laugh and hang out on Saturday morning. So it really makes for quite a lovely atmosphere to start my day with.
And what about you, Margaret? What sort of stands out for you about what you feel like you're learning the most from our friends who are unhoused?
I don't know
Where
that
to
I
start,
could.
right?
I don't know that I could say it better than Justin just did, but I certainly, in the time that I've been since the pandemic, definitely the volume has gotten turned up for me on the um, the the radical sort of goodness in this pure relationship. We're not even really trying to get. We're definitely not trying to get their social security number or to fill out a form or to take them from one place to another. We're simply in their company, and the capacity to to be a source of safety and dignity for people, and to feel that reciprocally, as Justin just described. In other words, they come asking like, how's your family? And what's up with you? And how was your week, Margaret? And they know my name is Margaret. I mean, they barely know what day of the week it is, and they'll remember our name. So
Miss Margaret.
oh yeah, Miss Margaret.
I like how Tracy tries to make you come to church.
Tracy, who never misses any service.
I know
ever.
Justin and Leah, you both know Tracy, I bet.
Yeah.
So he's the most faithful
I don't think I do.
churchgoer at St. James of anybody. And so he loves to tease Margaret about that.
He says, "I'll be at church on Sunday. Where are you going to be?"
Yeah,
Because I know you won't be here.
I love that Tracy's the church police. And we don't even have services now except once a month out on the field, but he's there. He's the first one there. And he's also policing people who aren't there. I love it. So the next thing that I wanted to ask you all about was when you think about everything that you see in the work that you do on Friday nights or Saturday morning, what is it personally that moves you the most? Leah, what about you?
I think it's just the kindness through the struggle, that I see people, still obviously experiencing a lot of difficulties and fear and uncertainty in life, but showing up and just with their full humanity and just happy to connect and with a lot of grace.
Mm. Mm. Can you think of a particular moment that felt really clear to you? I'm gonna toggle over to Justin. Just think about it for a minute.
Okay.
Probably there's a million, and so it would be hard to find one. But Justin, what about you? What moves you?
When I'm at the shower, and I think Margaret just gave the best anecdote. But even when it's not completely life-changing, where someone feels ready for an interview and they get the job and they get a place to live, just in the moment when they really wanted that clean shirt or really wanted to freshen up and feel decent that day, I think that's really moving when I just hand them a t-shirt. They like the color and it fits them, and they're so grateful to me for doing something that really doesn't take much effort on my side. So it's really a blessing all around in that transaction. So that's what's really moving to me. Just being able to help, and the profound gratitude that they have for the work that we're able to do and the services that we provide on Saturday morning.
And it sounds like you're talking about moments of real simplicity too.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, sometimes they, a lot of the time, we don't have the correct size for some people, and they'll say, "Oh, do you have socks?" And then, yeah, I have a pair of socks, and thank you so much. Like, thank you. I don't have any socks, and it's just one pair of socks. So it's not like I created a whole outfit for them or wardrobe. It's just a pair of socks. But that transaction breaks the ice, and then I'm talking to them later while they're grabbing a bite to eat, and then we're having a word about something else.
And what about you, Leah? Is there like a moment that stands out for you, just among the many?
Well, we do have a gentleman come named Mr. Shepherd, and he's I understand he's a longtime soup kitchen personality, but I connected with him the first night that I was there, and he's an artist. He goes around with a notebook full of drawings that's got like 200 drawings in it or something, and he was showing them all to me, and I'm an artist as well, and so we were talking about that, and he was like, "Okay, just pick out the ones you like, and then I'm gonna do them in color for you." And so I was okay, and I he had numbers on all of them, and so I wrote down the numbers that I liked, and he came back and he had made like an exact reproduction from his sketchbook, but like in color. And he's done this several times now, like brought me some art, and he always calls it a scholarship. Like, he's like, if you do this, if you hang it up in your apartment and someone wants to buy it from you, that's a scholarship. And I was like, okay, you're looking out for me, like and I just appreciate that. I think that everyone has something cool to share with the world, and he really just shows up and with his full self.
And isn't Margaret, isn't Mr. Shepherd also musical? I think he plays
He
the
might have a
sax,
trombone as
the
well.
trombone, right? So
But
he used to
play.
serenade on Friday nights indoors, right?
Right. He wasn't always exactly with the program, but he was always there. I mean,
Mhm.
he sort of played at his own at his own pace, but we
Mhm.
loved it.
Mm, mm. That's wonderful, though, Leah, that artist to artist connection.
Yeah.
And Justin, you with the fashion to fashion connections.
Yeah.
And then when you think about these relationships, what's something that upsets you? That's a funny word. I mean, I'm not asking for you to complain randomly, but I mean, yeah, it hurts your heart, right?
I could go first on that, or
Go ahead,
Go
Justin.
ahead.
So after once I'm able to build a relationship with the people that come to the shower, I'm inevitably wondering how they got in this position. And it's inevitably in the back of my head, like, how could I suggest ways to get them out of this position? But some people are very accepting. A lot of people are very accepting of the position they're in and the cards that they've been dealt, and they're just ready to work with it. And I really love seeing the growth of people that I care about. So that's upsetting to me that that's just something that I learned a lot about our unhoused neighbors, is that we can do everything we can to try to help, but they also need to want to help themselves. And sometimes that's not the case. And sometimes you just have to accept that and accept them for who they are. And you can have a whole relationship past all that if you're able to forget it. And that's kind of what I've been doing. Once you become a figure that you want to get their social security number, or want to get all this information about them and tie all this responsibility to the relationship, then it gets a lot more complex, as Margaret pointed out. So that's just something that's been a little frustrating. I would like to see them constantly progressing, like the anecdote that Margaret shared, and that's just not possible with every single person that you meet.
When you care about somebody, you want what's best. You want them to thrive. And so it sounds like you're talking about how to love someone in the moment for exactly who they are, which is how you put it really well too, Leah, that they're bringing all of themselves to that moment. You're bringing all of yourself to that moment. But at the same time, it sounds like you're painfully aware of all the barriers that they face and all the times they've been discouraged and mistreated by the system and distrust the system. And so it sounds like maybe your advocate's heart and then your just sort of brotherly love heart are kind of different in a way.
Yeah.
In that, but they're both involved,
mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Margaret, I mean, do you want to weigh in on that sort of that piece about, I mean, how we want to be advocating for change, and at the same time we want to meet people just exactly where they are?
Well, yes, this is my personal opinion, but I hold it strongly that everybody should be housed. That it's that walking away from people on the street is a is that's painful and really unacceptable. But Justin's right. That's easier said than done, and making people do something without deeply understanding what brought them there is, I mean, I will never know the pain and the frustration and the sorrow and the humiliation that many of our unhoused neighbors have had to go through, and the things that they've hung on to, clung to try to find pleasure in life and relationship in life that's not always been the best thing for them in the long run. All those factors are right in front of us. And so again, like Justin and Leah have both said, being in the moment is the biggest gift. With them, in front of them, is I have come to understand more deeply now, is such an amazing gift. And it's really the best gift of all that we have to give. But it doesn't change the fact that I think we have in front of us the obligation to figure out what will it take, what will it take to bring people inside so that they have a safe and dignified and respectable journey for whatever days remain to them.
Yeah. And Leah, what about you? What would you say upsets you?
Well, I mean, just like Margaret, I see like the bigger picture with our homelessness crisis in LA. And I really think that it's unacceptable that we're such a wealthy city with so many resources, and yet we really haven't done what it takes to house as many people as we possibly can and also provide health care. I see a lot of people who are struggling with all kinds of health issues that have just gone untreated and spiraled, grown worse and worse. And I just really believe that we owe it to all of our fellow humanity to figure out how do we extend housing and healthcare to as many people as possible.
Mm. So as I started this conversation by talking about this whole group of people who were volunteering regularly and then who really and had to stay at home, and how you all and a lot of other young people like you have just come into the St. James community and worked so many wonders, like the J Shed / our clothing boutique. And so, I mean, as a way of closing tonight, I wonder if each of you could just sort of say something to the people of St. James about something that you would like us to know. Justin, how about you?
Let's see. So first, I understand that it was probably difficult to be forced to stay home and have other people take over this operation, but I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to serve my community and to just talk to people without feeling like I'm doing something wrong. If I try to go out to meet anybody, it's not a good idea right now, but this is a really awesome way to engage with the people that are living around you, whether they're housed or not, volunteers or just the unhoused neighbors. And I think it's something really special that happens on Saturday mornings. And even if you don't show up for all 4 hours, just stopping by, you can see like talking to people, handing out food, helping out with the J Shed. I think it will have a significant impact on you, more than you can imagine. So I would highly recommend it. And Margaret is a awesome leader, a very, very awesome leader. She inspires everyone who comes there to come back. And everyone knows her, Miss Margaret. And they call her name with absolute respect because she deserves it. But yeah, I just want to say thank you. If I have any closing words, I just want to say thank you. I know I put in volunteer hours, but I benefited as much or even more than the people I was serving. So thank you.
Wow, that was beautiful. I mean, we're made for relationship. We're made for
yes,
right?
I am for sure. I can't just not talk to people.
I know. When I dropped by this Saturday morning and I was kind of overwhelmed with all the 3 dimensions, because I hadn't seen that many people at one time in a while.
Yeah, and that was a very light morning too.
I know, it was a light morning because the shower van didn't come.
Yeah, because it was pretty chilly and it was raining. during the peak of the heat. It's amazing to feel that fresh shower. So you can imagine there's probably
Yeah.
twice as many people
Yeah.
at the height of it.
Absolutely. And Leah, what about you? What would you like to say to St. James?
Well, I just, I have never been to St. James before I stepped into the soup kitchen that day in March. And I could feel that there was a strong community there. And there's photos up on the wall of past volunteers or current volunteers who are just staying home now. And there's the way things are organized. The soup kitchen has been made by many hands over the years, and I can really feel that influence. So I just want people to know that I can feel your work continuing, and we show up and we try to honor it and just bring some of our, I bring some of my own love and fun into it. And I'm just grateful. So I feel very embraced by the community, and I'm very grateful. So thank you.
Well, I'm very moved that you are both thanking us for all that you have given. I mean, that's really amazing. Margaret, is there any final words you would like to say?
I don't think I can really speak right now.
Oh.
But I can't help myself to say, I can't believe how you all the two of you just spoke like that. It's like you don't even know these 20 people who still talk on the phone every week, but you somehow do. And I'm really so happy, Kate, that you organized this, because I'm hoping that the congregation will feel this, see it and feel it, that the work that's gone on for 20 years is what drew people in and what keeps them in, and look at the amazing gifts that it gives all over the darn place. So
all over the darn place. That's right. And now there are Justin's and Leah's on Tuesday serving lunch. And there's a lot of you on Saturday mornings and a lot of you on Friday nights. And they're just these sort of amazing groups of people and friends, who are serving together now. It's such a great thing. Well, I just want to thank you both, all three of you, for being here tonight and sharing some of this with us. It's a great window into St. James these days, and we're so grateful. So thank you, Justin. Thank you, Leah, and as ever, thank you, Miss Margaret.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good night, everyone.
thank you, Kate.
Yeah, thank you.
Good night, Justin. Good night, Leah.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.